For nearly a month, tensions between Lebanon and Israel had both countries bracing for a broader conflict. Last month, a deadly rocket attack from Lebanon on the town of Maid al-Shams in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights was followed by an Israeli retaliatory strike that killed Hezbollah's top commander in southern Beirut. In response, the powerful Iran-backed group vowed to retaliate. This threat led to a wave of flight cancellations on both sides of the border, a chorus of governments urging their citizens to leave Lebanon and Israel, and a flurry of diplomatic efforts aimed at preventing an escalation that Western governments feared could ignite a regional conflict. On Sunday morning, Hezbollah announced that it had delivered its promised response by launching hundreds of drones and Katyusha rockets, Soviet-era short-range projectiles. The group claimed that this barrage of airborne weapons was designed to overwhelm Israel's highly regarded air defense systems and clear a path for its intended targets, 11 Israeli military sites in northern Israel and the occupied Golan Heights. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated that all of Hezbollah's drones were intercepted. Israeli officials reported that they had carried out preemptive strikes against Hezbollah targets overnight to prevent a much larger attack, claiming to have hit numerous rocket launchers in Lebanon. According to the Lebanese Ministry of Health, 3 people were killed in these Israeli strikes, though the ministry did not specify whether the casualties were civilians or combatants. The cross-border exchange of fire on Sunday morning marked a significant escalation after 11 months of hostilities between Hezbollah and Israel. However, it seems to have eased fears of a broader war, at least for now. In Israel, authorities soon lifted security restrictions in the country's northernmost territory, known as the Upper Galilee. In Lebanon, Hezbollah stated that it had concluded its attacks on Israel for the day. This suggests a return to the low-intensity conflict at the border. It also seems to mark the end of the anticipated Lebanese escalation that once again brought the Middle East to the brink of all-out war. Hezbollah has referred to this as the first phase of its response, but has provided few details about what might come next. The phrase could be rhetorical, as the group tends to keep its threats vague and open-ended. While Hezbollah's promised response appears to be largely carried out, Israel still faces another looming threat: Iran's vowed revenge for the killing of Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, for which it blamed Israel. A region on edge. Following the attacks in Beirut and Tehran at the end of last month, Western and Israeli intelligence officials, diplomats and analysts scrambled to anticipate how Iran and its most powerful non-state ally might retaliate. This led to intense shuttle diplomacy, with the United States, the United Kingdom and France urging Hezbollah and Iran to exercise restraint. These efforts also seem to hasten another round of talks over a ceasefire and a potential hostage release deal in Gaza, in an effort to prevent another escalation by the Iran-led Axis, which has repeatedly conditioned the cessation of its attacks on Israel and its allies on an end to the Israeli offensive in Gaza. Despite the intense diplomatic efforts by the United States, talks to end the war continue to progress at a very slow pace. However, the recent escalation has demonstrated that neither Iran nor its allied non-state fighting groups in the region are eager for a wider war. Hezbollah had repeatedly threatened to retaliate for any Israeli strike in Beirut by attacking major urban centers in Israel. Yet, whether by design or due to Israel's claimed preemptive strikes, the group fell short of that threat. Its targets remained within the border area that has been the site of hostilities since October, and the short-range Soviet-era rockets it used have been a mainstay of Hezbollah's attacks on Israeli forces for decades. The risk of an all-out conflict seems to have diminished significantly following Sunday's cross-border fire. However, Iran's open-ended threat will continue to fuel the war of nerves that has characterized much of the low-grade conflict between the Tehran-led Axis and Israel, keeping the region on edge as long as the war in Gaza continues.